Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome once again to SP Talks. So it's good to have you guys back. And on today's edition, we are going to be having um, emotional intelligence. The title of our talk today is Emotional Intelligence, and we have been privileged to have marvelous Ayomide Sunmiboye with us. Marvelous is a student of public health education in the University of Ilorin. Is so passionate about personal development of individuals in all areas of life, and also the personal growth and development of each individual. And because of this, he has been he was driven to create a how can I say it, a non-governmental organization called the Sunmiboye Impact Network, and it is driven to affect and improve the mental intelligence of people, the societal skills, and also the financial aspect. Basically, they help improve every aspect of life of everyone. So I don't know, well, I've worked with him for a while, and I know he's hardworking, is passionate about whatever he's committed to doing, but I think he's going to better introduce himself. So Marvelous, please, could you introduce yourself?
All right. Hello, everyone. It's good to be here. My name is Marvelous Sunmiboye. I'm a personal development coach and a human capital strategist. I'm the director of the SMA Impact Network. Dapo earlier mentioned the Sunmiboye Network, but it's the SMA Impact Network. What we do basically, like he said earlier, is we help people develop their capacities to become influential and relevant in their generation. So it's an exciting time to be here. Thank you, SP, for having me. Thank you, Dapo, for having me too. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. Welcome. So, like I said earlier, the title of today's talk is Emotional Intelligence. From my own perspective, I understand emotional intelligence to be the ability to monitor, regulate one's and own emotions and others' emotions to facilitate one's thought and actions, one's modes of behaviors and all. But could you please elaborate on that? Could you describe emotional intelligence in your words?
All right. If I got you clearly, Dapo, if I got you clearly, I think you were asking me to define or to explain what emotional intelligence is. If I get you clearly, so what you're asking me to do.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. I was saying, Dapo, if you can hear me clearly, you're asking me to, describe what emotional intelligence is, right?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay, absolutely. You already mentioned, you already did much of the definitions yourself, but I'd like to just say that emotional intelligence is basically I don't want to go and give the Wikipedia kind of explanation or the ones that are quite ambiguous. But basically, if you talk about emotional intelligence, what you're saying is you are able, the ability rather, to understand your emotions, to understand your emotions and the emotions of others, and this is just for relational purposes. The fact that I can understand my emotions, my mood, the way I think, the way I reason, and the way people reason, the way people think, the way they act, and my ability to work around that is basically what emotional intelligence is in the simplest form. So I'll just leave it at that so that we can be basic and simple as possible.
Okay. So emotional intelligence, basic activities to make people go around their daily lives, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, good. So are there different types of emotional intelligence, or there's just one type of emotional intelligence?
All right. If I get it clearly, you were asking me if are there types of emotional intelligence.
Yes.
We've had many people talk about emotional intelligence. If you Google or Google, I meant to say emotional intelligence, you see a number of things people have to say. Some are correlational, some are different. For history's sake, the first time we heard about emotional intelligence, I think it was 1964, when a guy, I'm not sure of his name, wrote about emotional intelligence, and from there people have been saying different things. But if we would say that emotional intelligence is splitted into parts, I wouldn't say that we can say that to be ascertained. We know with there are different levels to emotional intelligence, but you say there are types of emotional intelligence. Are they? I wouldn't say there are types, but emotional
There
intelligence
are, okay, but
is
they are
built up.
in
Go on.
stages, right?
Yeah, they are built up in stages. But you are saying this kind. We have the activity, we have the relational intelligence, we have self-awareness, and stuff. They are not different types, as it were. They're just things that help build up to what emotional intelligence is in its entirety.
Okay, okay. So can from what you said, I think I can infer that everyone is born emotionally intelligent. It's just the
Well,
level of the emotional intelligence varies.
that is very true. Just like intelligence quotient. I'm not sure if you've heard of emotional quotient before. Emotional quotient, EQ. We know IQ. Everybody has an IQ, but we understand that some people have high IQ, and of course, some people have a low IQ. It's very, very related to emotions too. Everybody is emotionally intelligent to a level, but we are just developed in. I wouldn't want to go faster than I should, because I'm sure you're going to get to ask me how to build emotional intelligence. But I'd say that um, the emotional intelligence is something everybody has, but we just have it in different levels. And the intentionality of our growth, in that aspect determines how much we are emotionally intelligent. If I want to, the way you can intentionally build your IQ, same way you can intentionally build your EQ. So everybody has that foundational level of emotional intelligence, but we just have it in different variables. So I'd say that.
Okay. So you just said everybody can build their emotional intelligence, like they can get better at harnessing it. What are the
Absolutely.
um what are the tips, or what are the various ways by which we can do that? I
All
feel
right.
if
All
you
right.
want to increase your IQ, I think you need to, I don't know, I feel read books,
Yeah.
watch, and all. So does that apply also to improving your emotional intelligence, or there are
Well,
a different set of rules?
Well, I'd say that everything around life works around principles. Everything that lives or exists can be built upon. If I am smart academically, that's not the best I can be. I can build upon it. So there are things you can do to improve your emotional intelligence. First of all, the first thing is most like one of my favorite words to say is that you can't do to others what has not been worked in you. So first of all, in your building your emotional intelligence, is you must first be aware of yourself. It's self-awareness. You must be aware of your emotions. You must be aware of your I don't want to go into temperamental stuff. Of course, I took a course on emotional intelligence a while ago. I think last year, and one of the foundational things they taught us was understanding yourself, self-awareness. Understanding your mood, understanding your temperament. Of course, we know we have four basic temperaments. We have the sanguine, we have the melancholy, we have the choleric and phlegmatic. A couple of days back, there was one thing flying around. Everybody was taking temperamental trees. That's one step to being emotional intelligence, because if you can't understand your emotions, it is very hard to understand people's emotions. Because, like I said earlier in my definition, like you said to that, emotional intelligence has to do with you understanding your emotions. I think I wrote something I like to read out. It's the ability to recognize your emotions and that of others. So first of all, you can recognize your emotions. So the first step is self-awareness. You are aware of your emotions. You are aware of your temperaments, the way you act, the way you do. Number two, you must begin to now intentionally, after understanding yourself, be able to pick up the things that you have seen that are not balanced, in quotes, in as touching your emotions or your relations with people. One of the things I did, was I had to carry out a survey on okay on people, with people, on myself. Okay, how do I talk, how do I think, and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to give you basic. I know that they are, this Google kind of, but I just want to be expressive as possible. Is that fine, Dapo? Or you like me to do the? I
No,
believe
no,
that
I think
people
it's
would
fine.
really
It's
learn
fine.
more
I
when they
think
understand. I don't want to
everybody
start.
has access to Google and can read up all these things. So we want to see it from
Yes,
your
I
own
have.
perspective.
I have a long list of steps and steps, but I just want to explain it, something that you can relate with in its entirety. So after I said self-awareness, you must begin to work on your emotions as a person, work on understanding. Okay, you have understood how you think, how you relate to people. Now you must take that steps to look at the things that are not very balanced in your approach to people as touching emotions. Okay, I'm back. One of the greatest lessons book I read in my life, I was going to say, is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And one of the things I learned in the book is that you must take time as much as to understand yourself, to understand people, because people people can be studied. All right, the concept of people can be studied. You can understand how a person reasons. You can take steps to intentionally, understand how this person will work, how this person reasons, so that we do not okay, if I meet you now, for example, one of the first things I do is, of course, I'm aware of myself. I have that self-awareness. I know my temperament. I know how I think. I know how I behave and stuff. But if I meet somebody first time, I'm taking my time to try to understand that person. I know it's very hard to do that on the face value, but try to understand the person, so that I can relate well with that person. And all these things can be improved by reading, by studying, by intentionality. Like I said last year, I took a course on emotional intelligence because I found out that one of the things I wrote in my book is it's needed for interaction. You have to interact. A lot of us see that, especially in workplaces, there's no workplace ethics. You have friends or folks that 1 week, 2 weeks, they are tired of you, are leaving you. You don't know how to interact with them. With other people. I think I just like to stop there so you can ask your questions further.
Okay, thank you very much. I got something you said from the industry, that people get tired easily because they do not understand the people, either themselves perfectly or the people they are working with. So is there any way the industry is trying to help improve emotional intelligence?
All right, I'm back. Sorry for the network disturbance.
Okay, I was trying to say that you were talking about in the industry where people will get tired of each other because they do not understand or they do not see things from their perspectives. So is there any way the industry is helping to improve emotional intelligence, or individuals have to work on themselves for that to be achieved? Because I think some people would not work on something except they are pushed to work on it. Or I don't know, is there any right way or wrong way to improve emotional intelligence in case the industry is not doing anything about that? Did you get what I said?
All right. I got you. I got you clearly. Got you
Okay.
clearly. All right. So, to answer your question, I believe that, because I have a lot to do with personal development. I want to say that everybody is responsible for their self. All right. Before we come into that corporate place where we expect our companies to help build us and improve us and stuff like that. I believe that everybody should be given personal development. And I was trying to take a survey, while preparing for this interview. I found that emotional intelligence is like one of the top 5 skills you must have in the 21st century to be relevant. Whether in your workplace, whether in your, it's one of the top 5 skills you must have in this day and time. Emotional intelligence. So if you say let's wait for the industry, for the where we belong to, where we work, our schools to begin to teach us these things, you might be lagging. Really, you might be, for example, now if I have to go for an interview, I've not even got to the company. If I am not emotional intelligence, as much as I'm advocating for everyone to give themselves to that learning personally, especially in the context of our discourse, corporate bodies too should give the opportunity to learn these things. If you own an organization, schools, our schools, one of the things that really do hurt me, especially in the educational systems, because we are not, especially in Nigeria, we have not shifted to 20th, 21st century style of education. We are still in that box of let's go to school and learn. I'm studying. Let's say I'm studying engineering, for example, studying public health. Let's just go and study public health, and let's go and study engineering. And we're not taught workplace ethics. We're not taught emotional intelligence. We're not taught design thinking. These are things that are very important that should be incorporated first of all in our educational system. I meant to say. Then also in corporate bodies, workplace organizations, to make sure that their members, learn these things. The organization I happen to be the director, last year, this was one of the things we paid attention to: design thinking and emotional intelligence, because I wouldn't want to let my member relate with somebody outside. It's a relational intelligence, relate to somebody in a bad perspective. So as much as everyone should give themselves to personal development, corporate bodies, school, educational system, student association should take that initiative to teach people emotional intelligence, as it is one of the top 5 skills for relevance in the 21st century.
Okay, thank you very much. Before I forget, you were talking about the categories of emotional intelligence. Could you please run through that again?
All right, I'm not sure I got you clearly. I'm coming.
You were talking about the categories of emotional intelligence earlier. Could you please run through it? And temperaments are in 4 different categories. So are those categories, how do I put it? Are those categories directly affecting the category one falls in is emotional intelligence?
All right. Can you hear me? Am I clear enough so I can continue?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Let me start from the last part you mentioned before. I talked about the ability model and the cognitive model. First of all, one of the things that we do not understand as people is that we have control over our emotions. I've had people say something like, "I'm like that because I'm sanguine. I'm like that because I am melancholy. I'm like that because I am phlegmatic. Oh, I'm bossy because I'm choleric," and stuff like that. But one of the things we have chosen to ignore is that you have a control over your temperament. So to answer your question, your temperament, of course, contributes to the way you convey your emotions. But however, that's where the intelligence comes in. We have emotions and intelligence. So your ability to master that, your temperament, and to fine-tune it into something that is what's my word now? Something that is responsible. That is why you are essentially emotionally intelligent. Because you have a temperament does not mean you are just emotionally intelligent. Oh, I know my temperament is not enough. My ability to fine-tune my emotions, my ability to direct my emotions to begin to work well with people. For example, now if you're melancholy, the idea is that they are dull people, socially dull people. And with due respect to them, they don't talk. When I mean dull people, I don't mean they are dull in their, of course. And they don't talk, they don't. But because I am melancholy does not mean that if I'm in a workplace, I do not contribute accurately. I'm just trying to work. And so my ability to master my emotions is actually what emotional intelligence is. Not just knowing my emotions. I can master my emotions, then that really turns into emotional intelligence. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. But what are the categories of emotional intelligence?
All right. The categories of emotional intelligence. First of all, I'll start from saying that self-awareness. Self-awareness. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. So self-awareness, like I mentioned earlier, I don't want to begin to run through that. Self-awareness. Number 2, your social skill. Your ability to. I think I've mentioned that in my discourse generally, but I didn't just put a name to them. Yeah, your ability to get along with others, self-regulation. I talked about controlling your emotions. So that's what self-regulation means in this essentially, ability. You can control your emotions. You can um, um, you can master your emotion. That's one thing. Sorry, I'm just trying to tap so I can see from my notes here. And all right, the last thing is social skill. Empathy. I mentioned social skill. Empathy. Empathy is one thing that runs across every level. I was talking about design thinking to some people last year, and empathy was the first thing. Somebody was talking to us about emotional intelligence. Empathy. What's empathy? Your ability to put yourself in the place of others. For example, now, how do I explain empathy? That boy is sick. That boy, you're not sick, all right? I'm just saying that if that boy is sick,
Yeah,
um,
true.
um, I can be like, oh, that boy, sorry, I'm so sorry you're sick, and that I'm being sympathetic with you. But empathy is I'm trying to put myself in your position. I'm trying to feel what you feel. Of course, I cannot, if I'm not feeling it, I cannot literally feel what you feel. But my ability to emotionally feel what you are feeling is empathy. Those are the things that we must. I mentioned self-awareness, self-regulation, your social skill, empathy. That is one very, very important part. And I think the last one should be motivation. All right. First of all, self motivation and motivation for others. Your ability to motivate yourself and, of course, motivate others. I think those are the basic 5 steps that I was able to curate on emotional intelligence. I mentioned self awareness, self regulation, social skill, empathy, and the last one I
Empathy
mentioned
and
is self motivation. Of course, motivating the other people that you are going to be relating with.
okay, thank you very much. So I think now we've established the fact that emotional intelligence affects the health and effectiveness of a worker. So if
Yeah.
someone has low emotional intelligence and the person is how do I put it? The person is not willing to improve, is there any way another person can drive the person to improve on himself, on his emotional intelligence, or the person is just once the person is not ready, that's just it.
All right. Dapo, if I get you clearly enough, you're asking if somebody can, if you're working with somebody, maybe a teammate or a superior or something, and the person is not emotionally intelligent. How can you make that person or help that person? Is that your question?
Yes, yes, yes.
Of course, the last part of emotional intelligence is called motivation. Motivation.
Motivation.
So I broke it into
Okay.
two: self motivation and motivating others. People, we most of the things that happen, especially in this our Gen Z. And I'm not sure if you followed up on the Twitter banter of the Gen Z and the millennials. It was such an interesting thing to look at. But for the Gen Z, most of the time we glean our actions, the thing we do from other people. For example, now if I work with you, and I was going to say that the ability to influence other people is another part of self of emotional intelligence that we should learn. Ability to influence. There are many people that are influencing. For example, now if Davido releases a song today, you can see 1,000 streams now. That's influence. So, and people begin to pattern their lifestyle towards that thing. So we should be able to come into that place of influence, that if I meet somebody that is not emotional intelligence, and the person, for example, now, if the person is not well mannered in the speech, I think that's the common one. Person is not self mannered in speech. The person just he talks, and emotional intelligence is ability um to to I was going to talk about to infer on each person's emotion. It's not something general. It's not like I'm looking at everybody on a general perspective, because that boy is different from Bola. Bola is different from Sheung is different from Felix. Felix is different from Anayo. So my ability to understand each person for their emotion and begin to work with them is really emotional intelligence. So I hope people are not thinking that it's just a general thing. Oh, I'm intelligent, emotionally, or I understand people. Understand the person for the person. So there might be
Active.
people that speak. They speak. If you speak to me in that manner, I might receive it and be like it's normal, and speak to that boy in that manner. So your ability to understand that person for first say that person. My example is person is bad mannered in the speech. So if you work with the person and the person begins to see the way you approach things, the way you talk to people, the way you express to people, the person's unconsciously, I did a course on neuroanatomy, then psychology. Unconsciously, people begin to. Have you noticed that you begin to, maybe you listen to somebody a lot, or you stay with somebody a lot, begin to talk like the person, begin to act like the person, and so once that person sees that, if you have someone like that and the person begins to act in a very otherwise situation, otherwise manner, by your actions, you put out your actions, and the person, like, it might be a slow one, but the person begins to learn and glean from your actions, and they begin to shift to become emotional intelligence and of intelligent, I meant to say. And of course, when you see that they've come to a level of emotional intelligence, you must be intentional about that person to help that person grow. You can speak to the person and say, okay, folk, you're my friend. I just think you should have you read about this thing? Give the recommend books to them, do things to them that will not want them to be emotionally intelligent. But the first stage is, let them learn from your, people can get withdrawn. If I just say that, boy, you are talking a bad way, you're not emotionally intelligent, take this book, read on emotional. No, people can be put off that way. But when they look at the way you act and you see that they're going to glean, there's a shifting, they're going to recommend things to them. I think that would work, and I've tried it, and it's such a strategy that really works.
Okay, wow. Thank you very much. So I think that doing that is using the motivation aspect of emotional intelligence, where you motivate yourself and you also motivate others. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So finally, before we round off, are there tips of things I forgot to ask that you would like to let us know about emotional intelligence?
All right. I'm not sure. I think I've said a number of things that I prepared to say, but let me round up by saying that you can be emotionally intelligent. You can be on the top notch of your emotional intelligence. It's just something that you must be intentional about. At some point in my life, my EQ was the lowest. I had a very amazing IQ, but the way I relate with people, I found out that emotional intelligence is actually basically relational intelligence, because I understood myself, I loved myself, but I was not able to understand people, people's emotions. Be intentional about getting this skill. Emotional intelligence is not just a concept; it's a skill. It's a must-have skill. It's something that you need to have. Whether you are a student, or you are working, or you have a business. Everybody needs emotional intelligence. Most of the people that sell well, marketers. One of the I took a marketing course late last year too, and most interestingly, one of the first things they taught us was emotional intelligence. And I've taken a number of courses, and I found out that basically I took a course on. It's really far from. I took a course on. I'm not sure. On, I think, public health. It's emotional intelligence was mentioned there. How to affect people. Empathy and stuff like that. So it's something that is becoming a needed skill in our generation. Do you understand? So I just want to end by saying that you must be intentional about getting yourself to be emotionally intelligent. You can start by studying, by reading, by taking courses, I meant to say, to improve your emotional intelligence, because it's not having emotional intelligence would cost you a number of things in this time that we've come to. So I think it's very key to be emotionally intelligent.
Well, thank you very much. I think I've learned a lot personally. Firstly,
Thank you.
I think I need to start taking courses. I think so. I know so. And also
Everybody
knowing
should.
that,
Everybody should.
okay, and also knowing that when I motivate myself, I can motivate people around me. When I'm self-aware, my behavior tends to rub off on the people around
True.
me. So if I don't
Absolutely.
like something in
Absolutely.
an environment, I should change it myself. Like I should change myself towards that thing, and then everyone else would do likewise. Thank you very much, Mr. Marvelous.
Thank you, Mr.
It's
Dapo.
really nice to have you with us. We'll look forward to having you with us again. Thank you very much for coming around.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for bringing me here. Thank you.
So I think if we followed through the course of this talk, we would realize that emotional intelligence is in stages, is in categories. We have the self-awareness, we have social skills relating with others, and we also have self-regulation. Being self-aware is not just enough to increase your emotional intelligence, but you have to regulate yourself. You have to be intentional about improving your self-awareness. You have to have empathy. on others, put yourself in their shoes and in their place, and don't just lash out based on what you see or what you think you know. And finally, motivation. Learn to motivate yourself. People would hardly motivate you because you are not ready to change. But when people see that you are ready to change, I think things would tend to just fall in place. So it was really nice to have every one of you here with us, and we look forward to seeing you in next week's edition of SPE Talks. Stay safe, be good, see ya.